This is Brian Tyler Cohen talking about some fantastic news in the much aggrieved state of Alabama. 2024 is going to be easier, folks.
Watch. So, Mark, we have big news out of Alabama as far as fair maps are concerned. Can you explain what just happened in court?
Yeah, in a sweeping 222-page opinion, the federal court in Alabama told the state of Alabama, your map sucks, and it's going to be replaced, and it's going to get redrawn by a special master hired by the federal court. So all of the drama that we saw with the state of Alabama ignoring a federal court order, ignoring the Supreme Court, all of that's going to get wiped away. And there's going to be a special master who draws a new map for Alabama in time for 2024.
Is there any foul play that could occur with a court-assigned special master? I mean, we've seen foul play occur throughout this entire process as long as Republicans have had a hand in it. Could that happen with a court-assigned special master?
No, I don't think that's a possibility. I mean, this court is angry at what Alabama did. They pointed out over and over again in their opinion that the state of Alabama was given an order. It didn't follow it. And think about it, Brian.
All right,
it's not that hard for a special master to comply with this order. It wasn't that hard for the state of Alabama to comply with this order. They have to draw 2 districts that are above 50% Black voting age population. This is not a complicated task, and it's not a vague task, right? 50% means 50%.
All right. So what is so delightful to see, he's excited because this is amongst the first times this has ever happened. But how many times have you seen Republicans, now I'm talking about the political organization, the Republican political, that's how I say that. There we go. How many times have you seen the Republican political organization get a court order and then ignore it? Get told by the law that they must do something, and they simply decide they won't because they know there will be no consequences because they have the majority of the judges and the prosecutors and the cops believing their ideology. Side note, stop ceding those positions to the worst Americans. If you are a dyed-in-the-wool lefty, consider a job in law enforcement, truly. If you don't like the profession, consider that you might just not like how the profession's been done. Or at the very least, the person who's doing it should have the least joy in removing somebody else's freedom. Rant over. The point is, they've never been, or tangent over, they've never been truly told that they must obey the law or given consequences when they don't. Now, the judge is sick of it. And again, this is not unlike the Enrique Tarrio ruling. It's a sign of the times changing. The federal court said, all right, we didn't stutter. And there seems to be a problem these days. In legal speak, they said this. There seems to be a problem these days with your hearing. So here's the deal. You were given abundant opportunity to do this fairly. You've demonstrated that you're incapable of that, current Republican Party. You, the people in charge of the state currently, are not able to follow a lawful order. And since you are unable, we are going to put someone who is able in place to do it. And you will be required to do as they say. In other words, you're losing some of your power. You've lost it, actually, already. Because you were unable to use it correctly. And if the people of Alabama want, first they shouldn't, but if they want their maps drawn by their legislature, they're going to have to pick a different legislature. Or you will have to demonstrate to them at the ballot box that you've learned and have the ability to draw the map. Because right now we know you don't. Good. This is going to have an impact culturally on Republicans. Won't all be overnight, but this sort of thing will become the norm. And by the way, let's encourage this to happen more and more and more and more, because if they're focusing on just one thing, they'll be able to say, this is an injustice. Oh, this is an injustice. But if there's 1,000 things like this, if this map is happening on the same day, for example, that Enrique Tarrio is getting sentenced, which is happening on the same day as when Kenneth Paxton is getting impeached, well, gosh, it's a hell of a lot to keep up with. And it's the consequences of running a bunch of clowns for office.
Not a vague task, right? 50% means 50%.
Right, as opposed to 50% meaning 39%, but I guess math is hard. Mark, Alabama's Secretary of State has already appealed this decision to the U.S. Supreme Court. Wasn't it the Supreme Court itself that ruled in Milligan that Alabama's maps violated Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act? Like, what would an appeal to the Supreme Court actually accomplish here?
They are hoping that it will accomplish delay. Why did George Wallace stand at the schoolhouse doors? Because he was trying to block progress. He was trying to block civil rights. Why is Alabama appealing to the Supreme Court, having just lost in the Supreme Court? Because it is trying to block the inevitability of 2 majority-minority districts in Congress in Alabama.
Is there any reason to believe that we wouldn't have these 2 districts drawn in time for the 2024 election?
No, this court is moving. They know what Alabama is up to. They are moving quickly. Like I said, their opinion was sweeping. It was excoriating of what Alabama did. And I fully expect that we will get a new map in time for 2024.
That's what I was wondering, and I just wanted to say this is why I love Brian Tyler Cohen. If it feels like the guy reaches into your head and pulls out the question you had and asks it to the guest, that's a good interviewer. Side note, the letter hack does that all the time, and I'm still going through his content and binging. But plug for that guy. Here's another plug for Brian Tyler Cohen. Hell of a good job. I hope he enjoys the wedding whenever that happens. I hope I get an invite. But regardless, keep up the interviews, Brian Tyler Cohen. There is one more part to this, though, that I want to listen to with you.
Now, was there anything unusual about the judge's response to these Alabama Republicans, and their outright refusal to comply with that court's order to create a Black Opportunity District?
Yeah, it was actually a very unusual opinion. As I mentioned, it was over 200 pages, which is a long opinion in any case, but it's a particularly long opinion for a...
Let me just say, in legalese, a 200-page opinion can mean 2 things. It can mean, well, this is very complicated, and we need to sort it out responsibly. And it can also mean, listen, mother, I'm going to tell you exactly why you're wrong. I'm going to spell it out in clear detail, because I know you're going to appeal this because you're a dishonest little... So here's why you're wrong. And here, other judge, is exactly why they're wrong. And if you say I'm wrong, you better be prepared to justify why you have a different opinion than these 200 pages of reasoning behind mine for whoever's above you. That's what that can also mean, and that's what I think was done here. All right, Elias, bring us home.
A case where really all the court had to do was say, we're appointing a special master, right? All they had to say was that 39% is not greater than 50%, and therefore we're appointing a special master. Instead, they painstakingly went through all of the evidence. They painstakingly went through every argument that the state of Alabama made, and they rejected it. But here is what's really telling. The court said, after the Supreme Court sent this back to them, that they gave the legislature another chance in good faith believing that the legislature would take that opportunity and act in good faith. And instead, the court said that Alabama did not even nurture the ambition to provide the required remedy. In other words, Alabama didn't even try to do what the court ordered them to. And this is the key quote. They said, "We are not aware of any other case in which a state legislature faced with a federal court order declaring that its electoral plan unlawfully dilutes minority votes and requires a plan that provides an additional opportunity district, responded with a plan that the state concedes does not provide that district." In other words, they said, we can't even find another instance where a state comes in and says, we're not even going to try to do the thing that the court has ordered us to do.
God damn. Let them have it with both barrels. Good. Yeah, this is fantastic news. Just I could not have asked for better from that judge. Fantastic. And the judge is not, I don't know how they feel personally. About politics or civil rights or this, that, or the other thing. I just know how they feel about respect for the law. And I know this because literally all judges' careers are built off of people respecting the law. This judge in this federal court is angry that the Republican Party there has no respect for the law. They're communicating that. And I think it's representative of the legal system throughout the country. I have a wake-up call for all judges, all lawyers, all cops, all prosecutors. You ought to know this. The Republican Party does not respect the law. Now, at some point, we are going to have to acknowledge that from the consent decree that they had to sign in order to not have a criminal trial for voter intimidation, to lying to investigators every time there is an investigation, into their activities, which there is a hell of a lot, from obstructing justice to supporting the candidacy for a traitor to the country. Republicans are repeat offenders. Republican politicians, the Republican Party, the political structure, it's a repeat offender. And at some point, U.S. judicial system, at some point, you're going to have to acknowledge this. I understand it's easy to apply anti-gang laws to, like, the Crips or the Latin Kings, or folks that that organize around things that you in the legal profession might be less familiar with. But a gang is a gang. A criminal enterprise is a criminal enterprise. And the Republican Party is a crime organization. That's all they are. It's starting to be recognized because there is no choice. They're starting to be, Republicans are starting to be treated appropriately in the courtroom, because we literally, as a country, if we want to stay together under some set of rules that are considered universal, the Republican Party has to be treated as they deserve, finally. So if you were worried, if you were feeling like your energy's low, and you're wondering, will I run out of steam before we see justice? The answer to that question is, have you run out of steam right now? Because if you got even a little bit left in the tank, you made it. You did it. You outlasted these punks. Stay around. It's going to be a long, drawn-out victory. And while for just tonight, that's not quite as exciting, getting everybody all at once. This is the beginning. Republicans, they just haven't evolved to exist in a society that treats them fairly. They can only exist in a society which pampers them. And they abused the power they stole. So enjoy the next few months, years, because there's going to be case after case and verdict after verdict, and the victories are going to be racked up by the good guys.